do you think about 4 working days week?
Okay lah, depending on the nature of business, I'm guessing. Because today, if I say fantastic, the manufacturers won't be happy. But manufacturers, some of them, they do the 4-2 shift, 4-3 shift.
Yes,
They
yes.
are ready on 4 days a week.
Yes.
But if you ask me, if you're working in a corporate environment, I'm a big fan of flexibility.
Hello, everybody. You know, I've been trying this YouTube long form thing for so long. It's very hard, you know. So today I'm trying a new format. I am bringing in a co-host. So this co-host is a newfound friend, you know. So I know him. How did I know him? He invited me to his podcast. That's how I knew him. Then after that, we work on some projects together. Then sometimes at night, we will text each other like as if we are having something but nothing.
Husband standing there lah.
Anyway, so he has been in the industrial relations business. He is a consultant, in HR consultant for more than 18 years already. So at night when we text each other, bukan say darling, do you miss me or not? But we exchange a lot of ideas when it comes to IR cases. So he is someone who is very familiar with industrial relations law. So let's welcome Victor.
Thank you. Hopefully today, your Red Lab session, we can gather enough viewers for us to continue more episodes, yeah?
Yes. Okay, so to start off the first episode with the co-host, we're going to start with something simple, light and easy. We're going to talk about the major amendments in the Sabah and Sarawak Labour Ordinance, which was in effect 1st May 2025. Memang very hot in the market. I also never knew that, you know the Sabah and Sarawak Labour Ordinance, they combine it with the Housing Act.
Yeah. Not only that, they also combine what we refer to as the SIPA in Semenanjung, the Children and Young Persons Employment.
The Children and Young Person together.
Correct.
So they have three, in Semenanjung, we have 3 separate acts: Employment Act, the Housing Act, and also the Children and Young Person Act, right? But in Sabah and Sarawak, all these 3 acts is combined as one as Labour Ordinance.
Yeah.
So when they did the amendment that time, which I think more than 20 years, they never have a significant amendment to it.
Correct. And it has always been different to the Employment Act. I think this one is a bit groundbreaking this time around.
Yes.
They selaraskan everything.
Yes. And actually not selaras lah. Now they are above us already.
They have always been above us. I think the big change this time, one of it is on the threshold, right? You know, in the past when the Employment Act was 2005, applicable only to 2005, 2000, they were already on 2005.
That's right. So what Victor is talking about, when it comes to Employment Act and the SLO, previously they have salary threshold. You guys had heard about this or not? Like if my salary go above 5,000, then they say you go to GTK, they will not layan your case. Everybody very confused with that, you know.
Yeah, I think maybe we try to explain this in very, very simple terms.
Okay, yes.
The old historical way of looking at labour laws in Malaysia, especially Employment Act and the Labour Ordinances, is you divide into 2 categories. People who are protected and people who are not protected.
Correct.
Yeah, that means for those not protected, you don't even have to refer to the Act. It's not applicable at all.
Yes.
In the past.
Yes.
Then we have the threshold there, that 2005, 2000 or 2005 to determine who is protected.
Yes.
Post these amendments, which is the Employment Act and also the new SLOs, Sabah and Sarawak, I think the first key point is now everybody is protected.
Yes.
We no longer divide.
Yes.
Yeah?
So prior to 1st May 2025, only employees with salary not more than 2,500 are protected by the Labour Ordinance.
Correct.
Right? So anybody above that, memang all have to depend what you sign on the contract lah. If you sign shitty terms in the contract, then you will be bound by the shitty terms on your contract.
I always like to use this example. A lot of people like to ask me also, is it possible for me to sign an employment contract in Malaysia? My gaji, let's say 8,000 a month. Okay, but previously 6,000. This new company offer me a bit more, offer me 8,000. It's a good offer I want to take. But the company say 0 annual leave, 0 public holidays. Sick leave maybe give you 5 days. But because I want the money, I want the increment, right? So I signed the contract. Is it valid? Actually, in the past, based on our explanation, it's valid because that
Yes.
person's gaji is 8,000 and not protected by the Act at all.
Yes.
However, now it's a different case
Now
already.
it's a different case because in the Employment Act, particularly Section 7, it says that if you have signed an employment contract, the terms and condition is less favorable compared to the Employment Act or now the SLOs, then the SLO or the Employment Act will override.
Yeah, correct. So that's one big change. Now I think we still have to look into threshold. The only threshold we're looking at is 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
So now people are very 4,000. Actually, a lot of followers, they came and asked me, like, Aunty, I went to JTK. They turned me down. They say, I tak layak sebab gaji I more than 4,000.
Tak layak untuk what? That's
That is the thing. They straight away, they just said, tell me tak layak. So the first thing I will ask them is, what did you go to JTK to report for? Because it's true, there are certain clauses in the Employment Act. If your salary is above 4,000,
then you are not entitled.
then you are being excluded. There's exclusions,
correct.
right? And this is above 4K. If ngam 4K, you are still protected by the Act. Okay? So what are these ones? One of them is termination benefits.
Yeah, I like to use this term called special payments.
Oi.
That's my own term, yeah, not quoted in the law.
It's a nice way to talk about it. So why you call it special payment?
Special payments because, traditionally people use this term way too much, like overtime. Who's entitled to overtime? Who's not entitled to overtime? So it's not only overtime, it's also payment for work done on a rest day, payment for work done on a public holiday. There are special quantums and special rates under the Act and the Labour Ordinances.
Yes.
So to keep it simple, I just lump it all together and say special payments. Now, only certain category of people, they are entitled to special payments. Whereas, if you are exceeding that category, then no longer
I
entitled.
like that. So what is a special payment? Overtime,
Yeah.
termination benefits,
Payment for work on a rest day.
payment work on a rest day, public holiday, and also shift.
Yeah, shift work lah. But
Shift.
shift work, essentially you're looking at that rotation, that averaging.
Yes,
but
yes.
Essentially it comes back to overtime also and all these other payments.
Which is true. Okay. So if your salary is already above 4,000, then you have to know all these OT lah. You talk about termination benefits, then you will not be entitled. Okay. Now, today we are just going to focus more about the basic benefits that the change that has been in the SLO. So we go with the first hung up one, maternity leave.
Maternity leave, huh?
Maternity leave prior to 1st May this year for Sabah and Sarawak is 60 consecutive days after 28 weeks pregnant. While in Semenanjung, Malaysia, is 98 consecutive days after 22 weeks pregnant.
Confinement.
Confinement. 22
Okay.
weeks after 22 weeks if they are 22 weeks pregnant okay?
Yeah.
So now they have lowered from 28 to 22 and they increase the leave from 60 to 98.
98
So
days.
seratakan
Yeah.
throughout Malaysia.
The term confinement is actually quite important here because a lot of people like to ask this question also. Why do we need to define the 22 weeks or 28 weeks? I think this one applies mostly to cases where if you're pregnant but
unfortunately
you
got miscarriage
unfortunately
lah.
miscarriage. So you have to look at that period 22 weeks.
28
Anything that
weeks.
happens before that, you will not be entitled to maternity protection.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because if unfortunately if you have a baby who was born and did not survive, if they are born after 22 weeks, you will still be entitled to maternity leave.
Yeah.
Okay?
Subject to certain other terms and conditions.
Ada meh? Or the other ones that one you have to see the other episode about maternity leave. Okay. Now the second one will be paternity leave. Before that, Sabah and Sarawak is juk. Tidak ada, kosong.
Yes.
Right now, they have matched Semenanjung, Malaysia and Labuan to introduce the 7 consecutive days of paternity leave.
Correct.
But however, I know a lot of big companies also all the while ada punya.
All the while others. So if, let's say you have your company that give 3 days or 2 days now,
Yes.
unfortunately you have to move it to 7 days.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like my previous company, we do have for 3 days. But now the law make it mandated that it has to be minimum 7 days. So that
Yeah.
is paternity leave lah. Okay, the next one is a very complicated subject.
Hey, wait, auntie, have to kahwin or not? Paternity leave.
Kena kahwin.
Oh, kena kahwin.
Asalkan you official kahwin, then can claim up to 5 confinements.
Oh, okay. So have to kahwin, but for maternity, there is no requirement to be married,
Maternity,
right?
you need to be natural birth as long as it come out from yourself. Then you will be entitled to it, regardless.
Okay. So
The baby is
paternity,
there,
back to paternity, what about the issue of multiple wives giving birth?
As long as you kahwin, then okay lah.
Oh, okay.
I know abang boleh ada 4. If they very rajin, they give birth one after another kan, 1 tahun sudah habis kuota dah.
28 hari boleh sampai.
Not necessarily 28 hari. Because paternity leave, it starts from the day they give birth. What if, so jialat one give birth Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it will overlap each other lah.
Okay.
But it always start on the day they give birth.
That's just bad planning if you have multiple wives giving birth together. It's just very, very bad planning.
Very rajin. Anyway, next one. This one I'm excited to talk about working hours. We do it working hours first.
Okay, boleh.
Working hours previously is maximum 48 hours per week.
Yeah.
Now it's 45 hours per week. So a lot of them work 6 days week ma.
Yeah.
So they think after this is implemented, they can go to 5 days week. But no.
No. It doesn't necessarily work that way.
Doesn't necessarily work that because break time, as long as it's minimum 30 minutes, is not considered as a working hour.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So a lot of employers also sangat pandai lah. What they do, they will extend the break time. So they still make you work on full day Saturday.
Yeah, that's permitted. But one other point on the break time which is important is if the employer, right, they control what the employee do and where the employee go during the break,
Yes.
then it is considered as working hours.
Yes.
So for employers who want to increase the break time just so that you don't pay more overtime with this change, just got to make sure, I think criteria number 1, 30 minutes. The break must be at least 30 minutes long. And number 2, you cannot restrict the freedom of the people
As long
during
as
that
it's
30
not
minutes.
a conflict of interest to the business lah.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
cannot during
you
break
know-
time I say I go part-time moonlight somewhere ma.
No,
Also
like
cannot.
kilang, right? Some they say, you can have a break, 30 minutes, but you cannot go out.
Then cannot lah.
Then that cannot go out means that it is considered as working hours.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct. That is correct.
Correct. So when it comes to 48 to 45, I think a lot of people also got the experience after the Semenanjung has made the transition to 48,
Yes.
45. This was a big hoo-ha, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so many people was making noise about what do we do now? Do we pay extra overtime and all that? So some ideas, I don't know whether this is helpful, but some ideas for employers, which employee have to learn how to accept, I guess, right?
I want to sidetrack a bit. What do you think about 4 working days week?
Okay, depending on the nature of business, I'm guessing. Because today, if I say fantastic, the manufacturers won't be happy. But manufacturers, some of them, they do the 4-2 shift, 4-3 shift.
Yes.
They are ready on 4 days a week.
Yes.
But if you ask me, if you're working in a corporate environment, I'm a big fan of flexibility. Now my office is 100% remote.
It's very modern.
Work at any time you want. I'm a big believer of that.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. But this is my take. It was a big hoo-ha when they shifted from 48 to 45, right? 2 years ago, correct? Cut down by 3 hours. Already so titanjong already. Now some more, you guys want to fight to cut 1 day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't foresee it happening soon.
It's going to be challenging. If you ask me, cutting down 1 day, making it like a 4-day work week, as per the law, is difficult.
It's difficult
very,
as per
very
the law.
difficult.
However, the law, Section 7A says what? If your company have better terms than the Employment Act, it's always welcome.
Yeah. I think 48 to 45, if you put it into perspective, right? A lot of companies, even before the law change, especially office based, they're already practicing 40-hour work week, 42-hour work week, right?
That's right.
So I don't think this is a big deal for the corporate
Not
environment.
necessary, no. Like certain industry like retail, call center.
Retail, yes. Manufacturers, yes, they'll be affected because manufacturers want to do the 12-day shifts.
Because
Even retail
it's a
also
very
do.
labor intensive job.
Yeah, correct. So for those, then maybe, in the process of, by default, the employers will be thinking, oh, we're going to incur more costs of overtime, 3 hours more, right? Employees will be thinking, now our hours need to be cut short. But can employers still require employees to stay back and work the 48? Boleh.
Can pay
Overtime
overtime,
only
je
lah.
lor.
Yeah.
Pay overtime lor. I always think, what does this employee do so important? They work less 3 hours per week can die.
Operating hours lah. Don't
Operating hours. Because most of us also work more than that actually.
Correct.
Like 12, 16 hours per day sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
But one big term here, one big term when it comes to this 48, 45, I think the takeaway for your listeners today is these are normal hours of work.
Yes.
Right, so the key term is normal hours. Anything beyond this, boleh lagi. That's called overtime hours.
Provided your salary is below 4,000 lah.
Yeah. So in other words, for those who are above 4,000 can still work up to 48 hours.
Yes.
Then the company can think about ideas whether the company want to replace the hours or give replacement days. Itu
Yes.
semua boleh lah.
I agree. Okay, so that's about working hours. Okay, next we want to talk about hospitalization leave. Okay, so previously in Sabah and Sarawak, it's you have sick leave, which is your normal MC, right? Depending on your tenure, it's between 14 to 22 days. If hospitalization is necessary, that 14 to 22 days can be extended to 60 days. So I always call it a hospitalization leave is more like extended sick leave.
Yeah.
That is what I always call it. That's why you see in a lot of agreement, right? They say 60 days hospitalization leave inclusive of the 14 days MC
all
like that.
in package.
It's an all-in package. But with effective 1st May 2025, it's separate now. Sick leave is sick leave, 14, 18, 22 days. Then your 60 days of hospitalization leave is an independent entitlement. So if you work in a company for 5 years and above, you will get 22 days sick leave plus 60 days hospitalization.
Correct.
If you so jialat, you can fully utilize everything. You can take leave for sick leave up
80
to
82
82 days.
Yeah.
82 days banyak.
Banyak
tu.
banyak.
It's almost like maternity leave
Yeah,
already.
you take 82 towards the end of the year, you can sambung another 82 when the new year starts.
Correct. Because it's according by calendar year.
Correct.
So that is also one of the major changes.
Yeah, so now we have to be careful when we apply for leave, right? We got normal MC, we need to apply non-hospitalization.
Yes.
Because the quota is different now.
Yes.
Right? When we have a hospitalization leave, then we have to apply the hospitalization quota. So some people, they got hospitalization, after that, they have to rest. So they have to divide lah. They have to divide accordingly to apply. Unless you're sick enough to be deemed as hospitalized, then you can use the hospitalization part.
Okay, so what I was trying to, when my face turned like that, because a lot of people come and ask me, if let's say I'm hospitalized for 4 days, warded for 4 days, then I'm being discharged and doctor give me 1 month MC. So that 1 month MC is hospitalized or sick leave MC. Now I call it MC. Actually, hospitalization is also part of sick leave. So it will easy differentiate it now. I call it hospitalization leave and MC leave. Easy to differentiate lah. But by law, there's a clause that said that if the doctor deem you are sick enough to be hospitalized, but you are not in the hospital, it's still considered as hospitalization leave. So this is the typical case lah. You got warded, then they discharge you to continue to rest at home.
Yeah.
That would be hospitalization
Normally, not
leave.
only resting at home, if you have to undergo like physio and all that, you can consider that as sick enough to be hospitalized, but not.
For me, it's very clear. A lot of company will argue, no, you tak masuk hospital lah. Paling easy.
Get the job.
Just get the job.
Yeah.
Just get them to chop hospitalization leave
Correct.
on the
If not,
MC.
your HR also susah mau buat kerja, right? Yeah. HR will be
yes.
thinking, I'm not a doctor. I cannot just simply
Yes.
categorize
You know
hospitalization.
which one is always very confusing? Day surgery. Day surgery, you go in, you do a procedure, then they discharge you on
Yeah.
the same day. Consider warded or not? Being warded to my opinion doesn't mean you need to stay in the hospital overnight. I think as long as you were in the hospital more than 12 hours, it's considered as day surgery that is being warded, for 1 day. So when they discharge you on the same day, I would think it's still considered as hospitalization leave.
I would think so. But I got one interesting question for you, Auntie. Now that we are segregating, right, 14 and 60, what if I finish using my 14? My MC habis.
I know where you're going.
Finish my MC already, but then I get the 15 MC now.
The 15 MC, can I makan into my hospitalization leave?
Yeah.
Cannot, lor.
Cannot, right?
Cannot.
Because that one is strictly for hospitalization.
That is strictly for hospitalization.
Now I flip it around.
It's the same thing. If you flip it around, you also cannot makan. You also cannot makan, It's separate. It's separate entity now.
Okay. The flipping around is interesting. 1st January, I masuk hospital 60 days.
Yes, okay?
Okay, so I finish my hospitalization leave. Then I need another 10 days of hospital. Can I use my MC?
Oh, by law, yes, cannot. You can. If you get MC leave, lor.
So again, this one to me, the earlier one is quite straightforward.
Yeah, it cannot.
Right?
Right?
The later one seems to suggest that macam boleh, yeah?
Now I get it. Actually, you can. Because for sick leave to happen, all you need to do is doctor to certify you unfit for duty.
Correct.
So when you extend your hospitalization leave, obviously you are unfit for duty.
Yeah.
You are right.
But I think this one will cause some arguments here and there lah, because some HR will say, that one you finished already, your quota, your hospitalization.
Then I just go to the clinic and get the extension only lah.
Correct.
Right?
So in the end of the day, if you can do that, you just as from an employee's perspective or even from HR, easy, you just follow the MC law. Just process accordingly.
That is okay. So that's all about hospitalization leave. Okay, we're gonna leave the last one, the excited one. Public holiday. Public holiday. All the while for many, many years, public holiday is one of the main differentiator between the SLO and the Employment Act.
Okay.
So there are previously, let's talk about 2 holidays bertindi dulu. Last year, there's a big hoo-ha, when Prophet Muhammad
fell on the same day,
and
right?
Malaysia Day fell on the same day.
Yeah.
So satu dunia, and some of the government went to announce at cabinet.gov.y say there is no replacement. So everybody was so confused about it, including all these radio stations. So previously in the Employment Act, it states that when 2 holidays bertindi, right, they have to replace the holiday. Instead of 1 day, you will get 2. However, this particular clause was not in the SLO. Now they have added it into the SLO.
Okay, a bit long overdue lah, this one.
So in future, anything happens, Sabah and Sarawak will also get it. But not government officers. Government officers, they are not under Employment Act nor the SLO. They have their own labor law on their own. So you have to follow back the kerajaan direction.
Correct. And sometimes it's also quite important to note that when the government make announcement, sometimes about public holiday, some of it applies only to public sector. So we cannot take everything and say that it applies to private sector.
That is correct too. Then previously, Malaysia Day and Sarawak Independence Day was not part of the mandatory holidays.
Yeah.
So now for Sarawak, they have added in Sarawak Independence Day and Malaysia Day. For Sabah, they added in Malaysia Day. So previously, Sabah already have 14 mandatory holidays. 14. So plus, right now, the Malaysia Day, it will become 15. Sarawak very king, okay? Previously, already they have 16. Now they tambah 2 more days, which is the Malaysia Day and the Sarawak Independence Day. Now they have 18. Now Sarawak has the highest number of mandatory public holidays.
Oh, is it? Actually, I didn't realize this,
You didn't realize
I didn't realize this. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Grand Sarawak. Sarawak memang sangat grand now.
Okay. But on average, even...
It's around 19.
19 total.
This is total everything.
Okay.
Mandatory in Semenanjung is only made to be mandatory 11.
11.
Out of the 18, 19.
So minimum of 11, not mandatory. Minimum.
Minimum.
So the mandatory is 5. The remaining pick and choose.
Correct.
Yeah.
But total has to be 11. But now Sarawak, minimum is 18.
Banyak lah.
Banyak ke? Nanti you kena cancel by Sarawak baru. So So that it is. So that is the major changes. Number one, everybody will fall under, as long as you are hired under contract of service, which means you are an employee, they will no longer salary threshold about it. Okay, everybody is protected under that. Even your salary is 50,000 a month.
Yep.
Okay, with the exception of certain clauses, if your salary is above 4K,
Special payments.
then you are not entitled to it. Then there is changes in maternity leave, 60 days to 98, from 28 weeks to 22 weeks pregnant.
Yep.
Then the next one will be paternity leave from nothing to 7 days,
correct.
subjected to terms and conditions. Then the next one will be working hours per week from 48
to 45.
to 45. And then for hospitalization leave is a separate entitlement altogether right now.
Yep.
And last but not least, for public holidays, they have added in more number of minimum public holidays. Plus, right now, if 2 holidays per 10 day, then it needs to be replaced. So those are the major changes that was made in the Sabah and Sarawak.
Major, not all, yeah?
Not all.
Correct,
They are major when it comes to basic benefits, which I think that you guys want to know. There were a lot of changes, a lot.
Yeah.
But I think these are the 5 ones that most people want to know about.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
There are some changes to terminologies. There are some new like sexual harassment. We haven't gone through that.
Yes.
Yeah, but that one I think not so contentious lah. Just ikut saja.
Betul. That is right. Anyway, me and Victor also planning if we wanted to go around to East Malaysia to conduct classes about the amendments.
I want to go for the seafood lah. You can conduct the class.
Cannot, why must we go only? Anyway, if you guys are interested, can please drop a comment. Then we'll consider going on a roadshow to Sabah and Sarawak.
Yes. Actually, we done that on a few occasions in the past lah. Me and my team, we done that. Always very, very happy to be in Sabah Sarawak. I think last 2 or 3 years we haven't been there. But hopefully lah, with this opportunity.
Welcome. I'm from Sabah.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Now you know. Memang a very lovely place.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all about the episode today. Thank you all for tuning in. If you like this kind of content and you want to encourage my co-hosts, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye!
Bye.